Welcome to Disney Coast to Coast, a show celebrating and questioning one of the most beloved entertainment companies in the world through honest, passionate, and clear-eyed Disney discussions. I'm Jeff DePauli, your entertainment-obsessed host with rose-colored glasses removed. Today on the show, we have the House of Mouse headlines brought to you by LaughingPlace.com, your up-to-date resource for the latest Disney news every day of the week. This episode is being released on September 21st, 2022, and basically there's a crap ton of news that came out of D23 Expo, so let's just get into it.
Hear the latest news from the Walt Disney Company in today's House of Mouse headlines.
As announced at the D23 Expo, the ultra-popular Porto's Bakery and Cafe will be coming to downtown Disney. For those unfamiliar, Porto's is a Los Angeles institution with storefronts throughout Southern California. In fact, there's one not very far from my house. Each serves a variety of delicious pastries and baked goods, some of which Expo attendees got to sample after the Disney Parks presentation. Now, for the phrase you really better get used to hearing for the rest of this episode, no opening date for the new location has been announced at this time. However, it will be part of a larger evolution coming to the downtown Disney district. In the meantime, you can order some items for nationwide shipping on portosbakery.com. A while back, it was announced that the Paradise Pier Hotel at the Disneyland Resort would be gaining a Pixar theme. This, of course, begged the question of whether the hotel would adopt the Pixar Pier moniker as the Disney California Adventureland did. Well, the answer is not quite, but close. Soon, the location will be known as the Pixar Place Hotel. As previously revealed, this hotel will celebrate the artistry of the films of Pixar Animation Studios. Along with the name update, it was announced that Great Maple will open a flagship restaurant on the first floor and operate other food and beverage locations throughout Pixar Place Hotel. It's unclear when this fully updated version of the hotel will be completed, but work has already begun, including the Paradise Pier signs on the side of the building recently being removed, so stay tuned. One of the most well-known Haunted Mansion characters will soon be making his way to Magic Kingdom. During the D23 Expo, it was revealed that Florida's version of the iconic attraction would be adding its own Hatbox Ghost. This legendary character was the subject of rumors and hearsay for years after being removed from Disneyland's Haunted Mansion in the ride's earliest days. Then, in 2015, an updated figure debuted at the park, instantly becoming a fan favorite. Once again, no date for when the audio animatronic may materialize was announced just yet. With Tron Light Cycle Run at Magic Kingdom now visibly in its testing phase, many fans attending the D23 Expo expected to hear exactly when the latest E-Ticket would be opening at the park. Instead, we were only provided with a season, as Josh D'Amaro announced that the coaster would debut in spring 2023. So it sounds like fans will need to wait a bit longer before they can enter the grid for themselves, but hopefully it won't be too much longer before this long-delayed project is completed. During the Disney Parks D23 Expo panel, it was revealed that a new show would be coming to Walt Disney Studios Park at Disneyland Paris. Pixar We Belong Together is set to open at the park next year, with concept art showing a Monsters, Inc. themed scene, although apparently they opted not to go with the title, Put That Thing Back Where It Came From, or So Help Me. Not much else is known about the production at this time, but more info should emerge soon. The Shanghai Disney Resort has announced a limited-time immersive exhibition called Avatar Explore Pandora. Located in the Tomorrowland Pavilion, the display will feature a stunning bioluminescent environment and life-sized recreations of iconic landmarks from the film, such as the Tree of Voices. Other activities include an amplified mobility platform suit simulator, the opportunity to be avatarized, and more. Avatar Explore Pandora will debut at Shanghai Disneyland on September 22nd and run through March 2023. Among the smaller announcements to come from the 2022 D23 Expo was the reveal that an Encanto live-to-film concert experience would be performing at the iconic Hollywood Bowl. On Friday, November 11th and Saturday, November 12th, fans of the hit Disney animated film will be able to experience the music performed live, with the movie playing on the big screen in between numbers, similar to several past productions Disney has put on at the venue. Tickets for Encanto live at the Hollywood Bowl will go on sale later this week. Pixar has revealed its latest original feature. At the D23 Expo, the studio announced Elio. The film is about a boy who finds himself transported across the galaxy and mistaken for the intergalactic ambassador for our planet, Earth. America Ferrera is set to star as Olga Solis, while Jonas Kabrib has been cast as the titular Elio. The film will be directed by Coco co-director Adrian Molina and is produced by Mary Ellis Drum. Elio is expected to arrive in theaters on March 1st, 2024. A sequel to Pixar's beloved but relatively recent film Inside Out is on its way. At the D23 Expo, Amy Poehler, who voices Joy in the franchise, was brought out to announce the currently titled Inside Out 2. Aside from promising that more emotions would be introduced in this follow-up, not much else is known at this time. Nevertheless, Pixar's Inside Out 2 is slated for release on June 14th, 2024. Walt Disney Animation Studios has revealed the next project set for release after the upcoming Strange World, a film titled Wish. The movie will be a unique combination of 2D and 3D animation to tell the story of 17-year-old Asha in the Kingdom of Wishes. The presentation also revealed that the music in the film has been written by Julia Michaels, and that Alan Tudyk will voice Valentino the Goat. Appropriately enough, Wish will be released during the company's 100th anniversary celebration, as it's currently slated to open in theaters on November 22nd, 2023. Coming out of San Diego Comic-Con, Marvel fans wondered what else the studio could announce at D23. Well, the answer was not a whole lot. However, one of the biggest reveals was the cast of characters that will star in the film Thunderbolts. Set to lead the film are stars Florence Pugh as Yelena Belova and Sebastian Stan as the Winter Soldier Bucky Barnes, with David Harbour as Red Guardian, Wyatt Russell as U.S. Agent, Hannah John Kamen as Ghost, Olga Kurylenko as Taskmaster, and Julia Louis-Dreyfus as Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, rounding out the cast. Details are scarce as Marvel is notoriously tight-lipped, but the film is set to enter production soon. Marvel's Thunderbolts is currently due out July 26, 2024. Not long after the D23 Expo wrapped, the Walt Disney Company made some changes to its theatrical release slate. This included adding dates for the aforementioned Elio, Inside Out 2, and Wish, among others, but also featured a few delays. Most notably, the Patty Jenkins-helmed Star Wars project Rogue Squadron has been removed from its December 2023 date and was not assigned a new slot. This is reportedly due to continuing schedule conflicts with the in-demand director. Elsewhere, Haunted Mansion has now been pushed from March 2023 to August 11th, 2023. Some other additions to the schedule include Snow White coming March 22nd, 2024, Mufasa the Lion King arriving July 5th, 2024, and Searchlight's Next Goal Wins hitting theaters on April 21st, 2023. Fans of the Star Wars The Clone Wars spin-off The Bad Batch will have to wait a bit longer for the second season. The show will now kick off Season 2 on January 4th with a 2-episode premiere. The Bad Batch stars voice actor D. Bradley Baker as clone troopers Hunter, Tech, Wrecker, and Echo as they join forces with their clone sister Omega as they go up against their former brother-in-arms Crosshair. These characters were first introduced in the final season of Star Wars The Clone Wars, and the series is co-created by Dave Filoni. Season 1 of the show is now streaming on Disney+. The follow-up to Disney's 2021 animated adaptation of Diary of a Wimpy Kid is now just around the corner. Recently, it was revealed that Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Rodrick Rules would premiere on Disney Plus on December 2nd, almost exactly a year after the first film's debut. Appropriately enough, Rodrick Rules is also the title of the second book in the soon-to-be 17-book Diary of a Wimpy Kid series. You can find those novels wherever books are sold and can catch both the animated version and the previous live-action adaptations now streaming on Disney+. Snuck into the Disney Parks panel at the D23 Expo, it was revealed that Duffy and Friends would soon appear in a stop-motion animated series on Disney+. The series is set to premiere next year and will consist of 6 episodes. Previously, this stop-motion style has been used for promotional shorts starring Duffy and this growing roster of friends, including a short titled Lunchbox Mystery, which premiered during a different D23 panel and later arrived online. As you can guess, few other details are currently available, but keep an eye out for more Duffy and Friends fun in the months ahead. This past week, the 74th Annual Primetime Emmy Awards were handed out, and once again, the Walt Disney Company and its various brands brought home multiple awards. Among the biggest wins were Quinta Brunson of ABC's Abbott Elementary winning Outstanding Writing for a Comedy Series, Amanda Seyfried being awarded the Outstanding Lead Actress in a Limited or Anthology Series or Movie trophy for her portrayal of Elizabeth Holmes in Hulu's The Dropout, Michael Keaton taking Outstanding Lead Actor in a Limited or Anthology Series or Movie for Hulu's Dopesick, and Cheryl Lee Ralph scoring the Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Comedy Series prize for Abbott Elementary. Congratulations to all of this year's Emmy Award winners and nominees. And now it's time to bring in Kyle Burbank from LaughingPlace.com. Yay!
Yay!
I got Muppet arms. Woohoo!
Wow,
Yeah.
good to see you back in digital form after seeing you in person
Yes.
for quite a few times.
Yes, at the expo we were, because I was scrounging your booth. And
That's okay. I got a Stella, or not Stella Lou, a
Lena Bell.
pin off of you and your friends. So.
It's true. How did expo go for Laughing Place?
I went really well. We met a lot of people that were already familiar and met some people who weren't yet. So hopefully they are listening. Hopefully listening to you. I know you. We had a little thing mentioning the House of Mouse headlines. So hopefully we have some new listeners tuning in.
Yeah, and a lot of people thought Laughing Place was a podcast because of me.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was at one time. It just so happens that it's the one we haven't done for a while. Yeah, and it took me until halfway through day 3 to figure out why that was. I'm like, oh yeah, because I have a big QR code that says Disney Coast to Coast Podcast.
That's
right on my table.
I love it. Well, cool. Obviously I've already reported on a ton of D23 Expo news, but there's some I want to discuss with you. Some of this I've touched on with Aaron on the last kind of recap episode as well, but
But what does he know?
yeah, what does he know, Aaron Wallace? Who does he think he is, just coming in
Some
here?
sort of thinking fan?
Yeah. Oh, gosh, the nerve. Let's jump into this. I get these first 3 stories that kind of, to me, they're related. So I'm going to kind of like bang through these 3 stories and then we will discuss, because a new nighttime spectacular is coming to Epcot. Yes, the show will debut in honor of the 100th anniversary celebration for the Walt Disney Company, replacing Harmonious. Next story. Happily Ever After returning for updated Magic Kingdom Nighttime Spectacular, which means that is going to be replacing Disney Enchantment. And then we get the news that Disney Kite Tales is ending at Disney's Animal Kingdom. These 3 stories are fascinating to me because it's, on the one hand, I'm like, good for you, Disney. And on the other hand, I'm like, what did you do, Disney? Because these are basically admission of it ain't working, right? Like Harmonious, Disney Enchantment, Disney Kite Tales, large investments, especially Harmonious, things that were, supposed to run for years and they weren't working. And I applaud them for recognizing that and being like, great, check the box, moving on. But at the same time, it's kind of like, whoo, how did you get so many misses in a row with this? So it's very interesting to me.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm sure they would have run longer if they were more successful, but, rounding them out at the end of the celebration also kind of makes sense. Like, the Beacons of Magic thing was always supposed to go away except for the Epcot one. So,
but come on, there's no world in which Harmonious wasn't supposed to theoretically
Well, we don't know if the
run.
barges are sticking around or not. I have a feeling that while we all want them gone, they might... if that's the investment part, that one's probably the one that's sticking around.
Yeah.
That part of it.
I'll be curious to see. I keep hearing people saying the barges aren't sticking around, but I have no idea where they've gotten that news from. Like you said, I think it might be just wishful thinking, but...
Yeah, because they haven't even told us a name or a theme or anything about the show other than a new nighttime spectacular. So I don't I haven't seen anything unless there's just people being like, oh, cool. So if it's not that show, then these barges are going away. That's like, okay, well, now if they're not doing projections on Spaceship Earth, then they're knocking it down. It's like, no, that's not the same thing.
Please don't start that rumor. Gosh. I just find it really, like I said, really applaud them for being like, we screwed up. Let's fix it, because it's a huge investment. And they even said, like, most of the 100th anniversary celebrating is going to be at Disneyland Resort. So they didn't need to go in and change things. What I find most interesting here is, so the Happily Ever After news, which is the nighttime spectacular at Magic Kingdom, or was, I should say, the song is coming back, but not necessarily the show.
They worded this terribly. First of all, the way Josh D'Amaro announced it was confusing, and then the way the Disney Parks blog wrote it up was even more confusing. So we were hedging and saying, oh, no, the theme is coming back for an updated spectacular. We've since, through our sources, confirmed that it is a version of Happily Ever After, but an updated version of Happily Ever After.
Okay.
So I don't 100% know what that means, but it sounds like that's the latest. Obviously, that could change, but we'll have the song. It'll be, they'll probably put in new IP. It'll be, we don't talk about Bruno instead of something else, But yeah, it'll be an updated version of that show is the latest I'm hearing.
Which I think is perfectly good news, because Happily Ever After did not get a super long run. What was it, a couple years? It was not a super long run, and it's a phenomenal show, and it's like one of those shows that could run for several decades. It was honestly a surprise to me that it was being replaced even for the 50th anniversary, because that felt like one of those things that was new enough that they could have simply said, hey, we're adding a 50th anniversary tag onto Happily Ever After, and that would have been like good enough for the 50th anniversary. But they didn't. They did a whole new show, and I don't think anybody thinks it's superior to Happily Ever After. So I think it's great news that that's coming back, and I hope a lot more people get to see it, because it is a great show. It's a really fantastic fireworks show.
Fair enough. I haven't seen it for a long time.
What do you think about Disney Kite Tales ending? Did you ever go to see it?
No, I never saw it.
Me either.
No, and this follows, if people remember, not too long ago, they started doing these like shortened like pop-up versions.
Yeah.
Like, don't expect an actual show out of this. It's just a little thing. And so it's funny. And it's ending not exactly, because I think it closes on the 1st. So the last performances are on the 30th. So it will be exactly 1 year.
Wow. That's crazy. I'm curious to see where those parachute animal or figurines will end up.
They said they're still using the flotillas, so maybe if they're, they're like, we'll draw your attention to this instead. So, maybe they'll bring them out for something and just not actually call it a show at all. Like, just continue to tamper expectations for it.
Yeah, very interesting. So yeah, those are 3 pretty big changes coming to Walt Disney World. We got some news at Expo. I touched on this a little bit, but we got to talk about what lies beyond Big Thunder Mountain and Magic Kingdom. Because this was the news out of everything at Expo that I think was like, all right, did not see that one coming. Applause, applause. Good for you. You shocked us. Because, potentially, Santa Cecilia from Coco will be coming to Magic Kingdom. Encanto-themed Plaza and the Madrigal's Casita, as well as a land devoted to Disney villains. How do you feel about this, Kyle?
I mean, I think the bigger story, more than what was discussed, was how it was discussed. Kind of like you were saying with Aaron, just how muddled everything was, even with the preface of, hey, we're going to talk about some blue sky stuff. And it's like, okay, but could you not? Like, almost like, why don't you
we must.
marinate
we have
on
nothing
this?
else to announce,
We
Kyle.
did a whole episode about stuff that got canceled. So this was like, well, this doesn't, if we ever did a follow-up and this doesn't happen, we'll be like, well, I don't know if that was really canceled because it was only technically announced. Like, not even. So yeah, very strange. And I was trying to explain. It's basically like, hey, here's where we're earmarking land for expansion. And same thing with Dinoland. It's not like people are like, oh, well, how does Zootopia, what does that have to do with Dinoland? I'm like, nothing. They're saying that that's the land they're going to take. And they could very well create a subland for Dinosaur, by the way. I don't know if it's necessarily dead, but imagine. But I could imagine also somehow that being carved out and creating its own mini land and then choosing the rest of the land for other stuff. But yeah, that's kind of what I got. It was, hey, specific to the Magic Kingdom one, people tend to think that, hey, if we want something new, something's going to have to go. And they're like, no, we have land back here, So I thought that's probably the biggest takeaway from it, is that you think that we have to replace stuff to get new IP in there. It's like, no, we still have land.
It's Walt Disney World. They have plenty of land everywhere.
Exactly.
So.
But I don't think people realize that. Like when Tron, people are like, oh, if they're putting Tron in, something has to go. And it's like, well, little bits, but nothing major,
Yeah, it's one of those things, though, where, like, that's why I get so frustrated that there's just not a fifth park. I'm like, if you're going to, why keep expanding these theme parks that are plenty big? Like, I don't think Magic Kingdom has a size issue. So I was like, let's build another theme park. But let's do a villains park, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, that's probably the biggest surprise from it, is that it's just a land. Because you hit on this with Aaron, just like how long the rumor has existed. But I've always heard, a fifth gate would be this, not necessarily a land. So I guess the scale of it being shrunk down to a land, if it was ever an idea for a park.
I mean, the same thing could be said for Star Wars, I feel like. Like, a lot of people, 14 acres is huge, but it's like, probably should have been a theme park, at least in Florida. And I think the bigger thing here is, do you remember, like, what villain was part of the concept art for the Disney Villains Land?
No.
I believe it was Maleficent. So I just have to laugh when, some higher up at the Walt Disney Company comes on stage and says, we've been hearing you for years. You guys want this Disney Villains Land or park or whatever. Okay, we're giving it to you. I'm just like, can you give us new villains too? Like, we got to go back to Sleeping Beauty or Little Mermaid to talk about good villains? Like, it's so frustrating. Like, you recognize that the public loves the villains. Give us real villains again. Because I feel like this villain's land is just going to be full of, like, 30-plus-year-old villains. Because they're the most iconic villains. And the current villains are lame. Like, yes, you can say, okay, whomever is a villain. But it's like, it's different. It's different.
The real villains were the friends we made along the way.
What is that from?
It's a meme, just like the friends we made along the way, that sort of a thing.
Gotcha.
But yeah, no, you're right. Like, I can't think of any big villains. It's like, what, Hans?
Yeah, it's like
from Frozen. Like, does that count?
It's
the Duke of Wesselton
now, right? When you're talking about Disney villains, like, yeah, I guess like they're the antagonist, but I don't know.
The mayor from Zootopia.
Yeah,
King Candy. We could just Alan Tudyk everywhere.
Exactly. So yeah, I find that to be the most interesting thing. They're going to devote a land to villains, but in my opinion, Disney has given up on villains or creating new villains. So it's an interesting little juxtaposition there. You mentioned the whole Dinoland U.S.A. essentially closing if this Zootopia Moana themed stuff ends up coming. Now, when this was announced, it was Josh D'Amaro said this is sure to make some fans nervous, and I was like, where did your head go? Well, actually, you weren't there in the room.
I wasn't there in the room. I was watching the live stream. I thought they're going to be like, we were thinking, what if you take Carousel of Progress, but make it DuckTales?
My head almost went to Carousel. Well, my head did go to Carousel of Progress, and I almost lost it. I was like, don't you dare. Don't you touch the carousel.
I will just vomit all over this whole show hall.
Oh, my God. I would have been so upset. So, listen, I'm not happy about Dinosaur going away if the ride does indeed go away. Now, they mentioned that... what was it? Mentioning that the area could be home to some characters from Walt Disney Animation Studios, and I love how Laughing Place notes, and forgetting that Dinosaur is a film from their own studio.
Our animation guy must have written that one.
So funny. They mentioned some thoughts on what could be injected into the area and retain the animal theme of the park. Okay, Zootopia, I get it. We all know Joe Rohde doesn't want animals with pants on, but Joe Rohde doesn't work there anymore. So Moana was the next film mentioned, with the film's themes of exploration and nature being a quote-unquote good fit for the park. I call this a stretch. This is like a Pandora
Avatar
stretch.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what it is If Pandora fits, then sure, if we're going to talk about. But I think the weirder thing is, and it's not like, obviously there are characters and properties that have appearances in multiple parks at Walt Disney World, but it is just kind of weird that they're building now they're trying to distance Moana from the Epcot thing since they talked about this. They're like, well, no, that's not a Moana pavilion. It's a thing about water. And it just happens to have, the frickin' Moana swirl on it and says Moana on it.
Oh, is that the official logo? The frickin' Moana swirl? Is that what they call it?
The frickin' swirl, yeah.
Awesome.
It also sounds like a really delicious treat that's going to be coming to the parks around the same time. But yeah, so I think that's kind of funny, is now they're like trying to downplay the Moana connections to the Journey of Water, like presented or featuring Moana or whatever it's called.
So you're okay with Dinoland U.S.A. just going away altogether?
I mean, yeah, Dinosaur's a fun ride. If they updated it to be, I would imagine that they would just
retheme that
with something. I don't know what they would do. Nothing jumps to mind. I don't like Dinosaur. It's too scary for me.
Of course you think it's too scary. Oh, yeah. Gosh, Kyle.
It's so loud, too. Like, at least with Indy, I can, like, close my eyes and enjoy it, but Dinosaur's just so loud.
I love it. I love it so much. But do you know what else is in Dinoland USA that I think perhaps people are forgetting?
The Chip and Dale wearing Triceratops outfits?
I mean, those are adorable, yes. But no, the Theater in the Wild, home to Finding Nemo.
Well, that's what I'm saying as far as, like, the annexing. So if you think about Pixar Pier, that only was half the land that took over. Mermaid was Paradise Pier, and then it just became its own thing with the Route 66 stuff I don't even understand what the the landscape of that area of the park is anymore. So I could imagine something like that where it's like reassign it.
Yeah, I could imagine it as well. I mean, I like the idea of just dinosaurs in general being part of Disney's Animal Kingdom. I love dinosaurs. Many people love dinosaurs.
Who doesn't?
There are people who don't. Actually, a good friend of mine out here in LA doesn't like dinosaurs. And I'm like, what's wrong with you? To be fair, you're talking to the guy who, like, people are going to at me now, but space does zero zilch nothing for me. When people talk about traveling to space, going to the moon, whatever, I'm like, I don't care. Honestly, put me in a tank and send me to the bottom of the ocean before you send me into space. Like, so, there are people who, not everybody loves dinosaurs, but a lot of people do. And I'd be sad just to see dinosaurs not exist at Disney's Animal Kingdom at all. So we'll see.
It's just a funny sentence to me. It's sad to see dinosaurs not exist. Be like, yeah, well, it's been that way for 65 million years, buddy.
Birds are dinosaurs. They are still around.
Birds don't exist.
Birds do exist. Anyway,
Birds
let's move on. We got some news. Now, this was talk about a tease. We got a nice big Figment tease. And the news is that Figment will once again meet and greet with guests at Epcot. This is not news. I'm sorry, like it's news, but it ain't news. No, don't build up to that.
Yeah, no, that was another, Damaro. Just like, hey, he did the same thing with Happily Ever After before we got confirmation it was actually the show. But he's like, isn't that great? Well, we're bringing Happily Ever back. The theme is going to be part of a new... It's like, wait a minute. You just said two different things. And this was like, sure, we know people love certain parts of Epcot and they show Journey to Imagination. And so that's why you're like, oh my gosh, they're finally going to do it. They're going to bring back the old ride. They're going to do a new ride. It's going to be better than this stupid Senses thing. And then he's like, meet and greet. What? Dude, like, you have to know.
The big question is the meet and greet going to be like a mascot Figment or a puppet Figment? Or like a animatronic Figment? I mean, there have been lots
or Stitch. Or not Stitch.
Augmented reality.
Yeah, Stitch.
Who knows?
Yeah, it could be like a Turtle Talk with Figment.
Yeah, I feel like if it were something new and unique like that, they probably would have teased that more, but I don't know. But, listen, I'm sure people are excited about it. I was just like, that's not really the news.
Well, it says coming next year, too. So it's like, well, what's taking so long, buddy?
Yeah, well, who knows?
You don't got that suit sitting around somewhere?
Who knows? We'll see. Now, Kyle, if you're a fan of retro Epcot, you're going to want to check out the pennants they have for sale over at Who's It's and What's It's, featuring Cranium Command, Horizons, and Kitchen Cabaret. Whether it's retro merch or the latest and greatest Who's Its and What's Its has so much to offer with all of their magically inspired apparel. And if that wasn't cool enough, DCTC listeners get a 15% discount off of their entire order simply by using discount code DCTC at checkout. So click on the Who's Its and What's Its link in this episode's description, check out everything they have to offer, including their Halloween collection, and don't forget to use discount code DCTC.
Can I ask you a question as if we don't have enough to talk about?
Yeah.
Kitchen Cabaret or Food Rocks?
Zero memory of either, so.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I'm going Food Rocks.
All right.
Because of the Peach Boys.
Which one was first?
Kitchen Cabaret.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have memory of either of them, to be honest. I've seen, like, clips of videos, but I don't have a strong opinion on that. I know. Ladies and gentlemen, Jeff DePaula just said it. He does not have a strong opinion on something. But we've been talking a lot about some stuff happening at Walt Disney World. Let's talk about a Disneyland Resort. We're getting new nighttime spectaculars. World of Color 1 will celebrate the broad storytelling legacy of the first 100 years of the Walt Disney Studios and Company, telling a new story through Disney classics and new favorites. And then at Disneyland Park, the night sky above Sleeping Beauty Castle will come to life with Wondrous Journeys, a new nighttime fireworks spectacular that will celebrate the first 100 years of the studio. Walt's original Magic Kingdom will become a magnificent canvas with a new nighttime spectacular that will ignite the wonder in all of us. It will feature nods to all 60 Walt Disney Animation Studios films to date, taking us on a journey filled with artistry, music, storytelling, and heart. It will continue to build upon the park's state-of-the-art projection effects, turning Main Street USA, Sleeping Beauty Castle, and the facade of It's a Small World along with the rivers of America into an artist's canvas that brings characters to life all around you as fireworks dance in the sky. Wondrous Journeys will also feature an incredible new song, It's Wondrous. This is exciting. I know the guy creating this show, and I was talking to him, and I was like, so it's like everything? So, like, we're going to get some Black Cauldron? He's like, you're going to see everything. So, that's kind of cool to think. And listen, I feel it reminded me of, what was the projection show on the Chinese theater at the Hollywood Studios? Like Movie Magic and whatever.
Yeah, something generic like that. Yeah.
Where they would fit in clips of randomness, like Hocus Pocus, Newsies and stuff. And you'd have to see it multiple times to really catch it all. That's what this will be. But I think that's very exciting, and I think that that'll be fun. And I love that Disneyland Park is kind of becoming the hub for the Disney 100 celebration.
I do think the only thing about this is the title of the song, It's Wondrous. I just keep saying, it's wondrous, it's wondrous, it's
exactly. Yeah. It's wonderful, it's magical, it's beautiful, exciting. Agreed. I had the same thought. But, and did you hear the song?
No, I didn't.
Okay, I saw the performance at Expo. Not exactly.
Oh, was that the one that sounds like the Lumineers, or was that the...
Sounded like nothing to me. I was just like, this isn't a super memorable song, and frankly, the last time they performed a nighttime spectacular song at Expo...
But that was like the acoustic-y one, right?
Sure. It was like the finale of the Parks panel.
Okay, yeah. No, it sounds like, if you turned on the radio 10 years ago, and everything was like Mumford & Sons.
All right. Yeah, it didn't like rock my world, but maybe it'll take a little while to catch on. I just remember them performing the theme for Harmonious at D23 Expo, and then that getting cut from the show. So I was like, let's see if this one survives. But regardless, 2 nighttime spectacular. Listen, Disneyland Resort kicking butt with consistently changing nighttime spectaculars, which I love. So both of these should be exciting, and they're both celebrating a huge milestone, which is awesome.
And hopefully this new World of Color brings back Hellfire.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, I would love some Hellfire. Yes. Da-da-da. Anyway, let's move on to something I put in here just because of you. runDisney events are on their way back to the Disneyland Resort. runDisney events were halted back, not because of pandemic, back in 2017 to allow for construction and expansion efforts. So it has been a mighty long time since we've had some runDisney at Disneyland Resort. Have you ever done any of them here
at California?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we used to do the Marvel ones from the first year to the last year. So in Run Disney, there's this thing that they do called Legacy. So if you do with the first one, starting with the 5th year, or I think starting with the 5th year, it might be after you do it 5 times, so then it starts with the 6th year. You're considered Legacy, which means you get like priority registration and things like that. So my wife was looking forward to this because we started with the first one and it was our thing every year. It was a great time of year. It was in November, and then ended right at 4 years. So we did the 4th one. So that was her first question when I shared, hey, you were right. Because she actually asked me the morning of this panel, she's like, do you think one of the announcements will be that Run Disney is coming back to California? And I go, no. And sure enough, it was announced. So I look stupid. But her first question to me after was, oh, well, do we get to be Legacy if they bring back that race? So I have no idea. I'm sure lots of people will ask that question because obviously they can't do Marvel races in Florida. So that would have to be exclusive. It seems like it would make a lot of sense to bring that back, but I wonder what would happen there. But yes, I'm slightly excited. My wife is very excited.
All right. Well, you're the person I thought of when I saw that it was happening. So
yes, I think if you're going to do one of the Disneyland ones, I'd recommend the 10K. You start off running through Anaheim.
I will not do any Disneyland one.
Okay, that's fine. But I'm telling the listeners.
Oh, the
there's
listener.
People
okay.
other than you that I'm talking to.
Me, trying to convince me
No,
still.
I'm speaking to the people.
Okay, talk to the people.
The 10K is a good length. It's still enough of a challenge, but you spend a lot of time in the parks. The half marathon in Anaheim, you spend a lot of time running through the streets of Anaheim. And you do get to go through Angel Stadium sometime, which is kind of fun. But yeah, 10K is my recommendation.
All right, go sports. Moving on, Magic Happens will be returning to Disneyland in spring. The parade originally debuted on February 27th, 2020, and closed less than 2 weeks later, along with the rest of the resort due to the COVID-19 pandemic. This is news that is, first of all, I was talking to the show director of this parade, and he was legit shocked at the reaction that people had when this was announced. And I was like, why are you surprised? The great majority of people, this is a brand new parade. Nobody's seen it. And it's so good.
Yeah, because this only ran for, what, like a month or two?
2 weeks.
2 weeks, wow.
Yes.
I mean, they kind of brought it on themselves. They called it Magic Happens. And then you think of what else people say, oh, blank happens.
Tragic.
And then yeah, tragic,
oh,
sure.
Crap happens, gotcha.
Crap happens, yeah. And it did. Lots of crap happened. So, and including potentially with the person who wrote the song. So, very interesting development. I think people are more excited because, this was like the Hatbox Ghost of parades for a minute there.
Yes, it was. It's a wonderful parade. I really liked it, and it was one of the best daytime parades I've seen. So I'm very excited for it to come back. Sword in the Stone has a float, all is well, and spring 2023, it'll be back. So good news. Even bigger news for Disneyland Resort. Marvel fans will get to come face to face with their favorite heroes from everywhere and every when in this new multiverse attraction coming to Avengers Campus. The primary villain of the attraction will be King Thanos. This is a version of Thanos that won, and the Avengers are not too happy about that, and they're going to need our help to face him. I have a feeling we can do it, don't you?
I have faith.
Ladies and gentlemen, I wish that you could see the Kyle Burbank arm choreography that I'm getting tonight. Oh my gosh. The guns are blazing.
I'm pumped. I am so excited for this. I have no idea what it is. Let me ask you this. You've seen the concept art. I assume you have a big poster of said concept art, right?
Well, a small poster, but yeah.
Okay. What does that ride vehicle look like to you?
Didn't even look closely at it. I was like, it's Marvel. It's fine.
I'm hoping it's not just a simulator, but to me, it looks kind of like an Indy EMV vehicle.
So this is what I had heard, and this could be complete BS. This could be blue sky. This was many years ago. I heard what this whole Avengers ride thing was supposed to be.
Well, it's changed. It was supposed to be a Quinjet attraction.
Okay. So they've completely gone in a different direction because I felt like this was an adaptation.
Yeah, see, that's the thing we don't know is I had always heard with the Quinjet thing, it was going to be a simulator. And I'm like, you guys have done that so many times. I want physical. So that's why seeing this, it made me think, oh, maybe it is an actual vehicle. It looks a little different.
I had heard that with that Quinjet thing, and like I said, this could be complete rumor BS, so don't quote me or anything. But I had heard that it was going to start in like a Star Tours kind of situation, but at a point in the ride, the walls of your ride vehicle would rip apart, like you've been hit. And then you're on is it called a Kuka arm, like in Harry Potter?
Oh,
and it turns into that. That's what I had heard.
I mean, that's interesting, but that also sounds nauseating because I don't like
that's the
Forbidden
theme
Journey.
Of rides these days. They have to make 5% of people who ride vomit. That's the new thing.
Okay, is that like you're talking about like Cosmic Rewind and
yeah?
I'm not a fan of that trend. Yeah, family coaster. Be like, what family? But anyway, no, I'm I'm interested in the storyline here. I think the concept art looks really cool because it has, like they promised, it's got a bunch of different characters, some of which I think he said we haven't met yet, like in the MCU.
Yeah.
Different versions of the same character. And I love this concept. Obviously, a lot will be, my opinion on the finished product will be informed by what type of ride it actually is. If it's just another Star Tours or even like a Millennium Falcon, like we don't need that.
Yeah, I think it'll be bigger than that.
I'm hoping it for like a Spider-Man sort of, not Spider-Man web slingers, but Spider-Man at IOA.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's like a great hybrid of like simulator dark
And
ride.
yeah, I think that would work well for this. Or, it also kind of looks like a boat. So if they want to do like a Shanghai Pirates sort of a thing.
Ooh, that would be cool. I really want that tech to come stateside. So we'll see. That would be awesome. Some more Marvel stuff happening over at Disney California Adventure, but this one a bit off the beaten path, not in Avengers Campus, because Pacific Wharf in Disney California Adventure is being reimagined into San Francisco for Marvel's Big Hero 6. Pacific Wharf is one of the last remaining unchanged areas of Disney California Adventure, so this is kind of big news. The area will also feature a place to meet Baymax. People love meeting him, as well as new spots to eat and shop. I don't really have much of an opinion on this. I'm like, sure, whatever, it's fine. I'm just bummed it's not connected to Avengers Campus. I don't like when you have a whole land theme to something like with Star Wars, when you have a Galaxy's Edge and then you have Star Tours in Tomorrowland. That drives me crazy. Like, continuity, folks. Let's work on that. And that's how I feel about San Francisco being in Disney California Adventure, but not part of Avengers Campus.
But Avengers Campus is MCU, right? So.
But it is Marvel.
Yeah. But I don't think most people, like, it's always the technicality when we do our drafts for the Marvel podcast I do. We're like, I'm going to take Baymax because technically it's Marvel. But, I don't think there's enough of a connection in the minds of most people. I think it's cool that technically the Golden Gate is coming back to DCA, sort of.
Yeah.
I think the concept art for this looks really cool. I know it's really just going to be nothing. Like that's for me. I wish if they were going to do it, they'd go all in. Because I actually got to visit Walt Disney Studios Animation when they were producing Big Hero, and they always decorate their kind of like coffee area to whatever film they're working on. So they decked it out as San Francisco.
Come on, the cereal bar is far more
the
important
caffeine
than the
patch.
Exactly.
It's called the caffeine patch.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that looked awesome. So if they do that, like, put it even like just a couple of like fun themed vending machines, I'll be happy. I know people have questions. I mean, Rosie's probably gone. But the bread itself, I'm hoping that they could just do like a presented by. So like the idea is people are assuming that, Aunt Cass has a bakery in the movie. So she'll probably have the bakery. But I could see it being like presented by Bodine or something.
I just hope it's really good food. Whatever they put there, I just want it to be really great. Like, make it top-level theme park food options, and that'll be great.
Yeah. And I hope Ghirardelli stays, because I like Ghirardelli, even though they keep on raising their prices just so much.
What's so funny is I was with somebody at DCA recently who was like, oh, man, I'm going to be sad the day that Ghirardelli goes. And then I was like, why would they get rid of it? And then this was announced. I'm like, oh, there's a good chance.
I mean, I still wish I had a warm tortilla every time I went, but
tortilla. Alrighty, let's move on. Let's hop over to Disneyland, where the Mandalorian and Grogu are going to be meeting guests at Disneyland beginning in November. The first look of Mandalorian and Grogu walk-around characters were presented at D23 Expo. I'm sure you saw a video of this, yeah?
I did. I saw the stream, and this was another one of those, oh my gosh, he's bringing out Jon Favreau. What's going to happen? Expansion of Galaxy's Edge to be more... oh, no, just the thing they already told us was coming. All right.
Well, the little Grogu character, for those interested, if you may have just heard a recent episode of Disney Coast to Coast with Garner Holt from the Garner Holt Productions animatronic builders and such. Little Grogu, that's his project, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's in the little pouch thing. I think people were wondering how that was going to work. I think that's probably a good solution.
Yeah. They did a nice job. So very, very cool. That's the news. Actually, got one other thing I want to talk about, and that is an event that I am producing called an Oogie Boogie Afternoon. And I'm very excited about this. It's taking place on Sunday, October 9th at 3 p.m. at the Frida Cinema in Santa Ana, California. It's 7 miles from Disneyland. And this is something I am working with the folks at Disney Live Entertainment and Walt Disney Imagineering, and we're going to have a panel discussing the creation of Oogie Boogie Bash. And this is the first time ever that this is happening. Jordan Peterson will be joining me. He's the Oogie Boogie Bash creator and show director. We also got Casey Wilkerson, who works on media and lighting, director of that. And Jennifer McGill is the producer of the event. And then following that panel, we'll be doing a screening of The Nightmare Before Christmas. So I'm super excited. It's going to be a lot of fun. Tickets are available at thefridacinema.org. Of course, I'll have a link in the show notes, and I'll be posting about it on my social media and stuff. So hopefully some of you can make it. It's sure to be a really fun afternoon, and I'm looking forward to it. I love Oogie Boogie Bash, and I'm excited to talk to them about the making of it. Should be cool.
Yeah, that's very cool. And I like that you're doing it in that order. So if you don't care that much about the film, you could peace out.
Who doesn't care about The Nightmare Before Christmas?
Stay.
My gosh.
It's okay. I like it. I like that movie, but I'm sure we've all seen it a ton at this point.
But when's the last time you saw it on the big screen? Because I honestly
That's
don't know.
That's a really good point.
For me.
Yeah. Probably. Well, yeah, maybe you probably saw it at the Bowl. It's probably the last time you saw it, right?
Oh, quite possibly, but I don't count that because you're so far away from the quote-unquote big screen that it doesn't really count. So the last time I'm trying to think if I ever did it at the El Capitan. I may have at one point. I feel like I probably did, but I don't remember. So I can't recall the last time I saw it on the big screen, and so... I know a lot of people, it's an annual tradition to do it. And might I add, the Frida Cinema is about 7 miles from Disneyland. So I love the location as well. We're talking about the party, basically 7 miles away. The party's sold out, by the way, as I'm sure y'all have heard. So this is the next best thing. Come hear about the creation of it with the people who created it. And I'm super stoked that we got permission to do this. And
very cool.
I got
to go to the party, and it was really good. So I'm very interested in learning more about it because I think it was a good event, and I think there's a lot of interesting things to discuss.
Yeah. I truly am excited. So Kyle, you're flying out for this then? Is that what?
Yeah. I mean, I have nothing on my calendar at the moment.
Sounds good. Anyway, anything else you want to add before we get going here?
Great to see everyone at the expo.
Yes.
You included, Aaron, and all our other friends. Obviously my D23 experience is much different, being stuck at the booth. Oh, I'll say this. I did go to the Disney Parks exhibit. That was fun. Also a little frustrating the way that it was managed. Kind of like you guys were talking about how, I followed the rules and I got screwed over. Mine was I tried to be courteous and felt like I got screwed over a little bit. But it was still a nice exhibit. Not my favorite by far from some of the past Disney parks things that they've had there. And the only other thing I did besides hang out at my booth all day was go to see Darren Criss sing some Disney songs at the Disney Bundle stage. Also a ton of fun. So.
Oh, is he a buddy of yours? I know you worked a bunch on Glee. Like, do you
I mean,
know
I
him?
wouldn't call him a buddy, but I think we worked together. I don't know if he still knows my name. He did at the time. But I think he's a very talented person and a great person in general. So.
Cool. Excellent. The thing that you said about the Imagineering Pavilion, I would agree, not the best one, but it's so funny as I was thinking about this. One of the things that I used to love so much about it was the showmanship of it. There was like a whole pre-show and like it was really an experience. And then I thought to myself, oh, that's why the line moves so much better now, because they cut that stuff. So there needs to be like a better balance, I think, as far as like the grandeur of it, but having show scenes does slow down the line considerably.
Yeah, well, how about we compromise? How about you have a pre-show, but you tell everyone to just like be reasonable with the number of photos and selfies that they take. Like you and a Toontown model. What are you going to do with that photo? I'll believe you that you saw the Toontown model. You don't need to post that.
They need to post it for the day that the new Toontown opens and they can't be there. They need it for the gram.
Because that's what, like, once inside, like, there was a line, and it was because people were just taking photos of everything. I'm like, that it's the last day. Like, all of this stuff that you're looking at, you could go to 100 different websites and find better photos than the ones you're taking right now.
That's my opinion of almost everything, but
that's how I feel about anytime someone's like videoing on an attraction, I'm like, let me introduce you to something called attractions.
Excellent. Well, Kyle, it was so good to see you at Expo. Thank you for talking about the news, and I will talk to you again in a couple weeks.
All right. Looking forward to it.
To read more about any and all of the stories you've heard here today, simply visit the show notes link in this episode's description. You've heard the news, and now I want to hear what you have to say about it. Do you have a favorite announcement that came out of D23 Expo? Share your thoughts on that or any other topics mentioned in today's episode. Call 818-860-2569, and you may just hear yourself on a future episode of Disney Coast to Coast. Thanks for tuning into this episode. Don't miss any future episodes by subscribing and following Disney with a Z Coast to Coast on your favorite podcast app. This episode has been executive produced by Robert Scontrino and Mackenzie Jalen Arnold. Gain rewards like Robert and Mackenzie, including access to never-before-heard episodes and live-stream Q&As by visiting the Patreon link in this episode's description. And don't forget that I'll be matching 100% of your first month subscription to the Alzheimer's Association for all new patrons joining this month, September of 2022. Basically, anything you need can be found in this episode's description, from additional information and links discussed in this episode found in the show notes, to the DCTC hotline where you can leave a voicemail and be heard on a future episode, access to the show's official website, some free gifts from me to you, and so much more. So be sure to check out this episode's description. Other than that, folks, have a magical day. Bye!
Thanks for listening to Disney Coast to Coast. Have a magical day.
Disney Coast to Coast is produced and hosted by Jeff DePauli. Learn more about the podcast and become a supporter at DisneyCoastToCoast.com. This podcast is part of the DePodcast Network. Learn more about this show, plus find more quality and entertaining podcasts at DePodcastNetwork.com. That's DEPodcastNetwork.com.